Hello and welcome to another benefit of the Doud Review. I am your host, Adam Doud, and with me, as always, is Mr. Co-host Cliff. Cliff, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I feel like I'm in that or maybe I'm just emerging from that weird haze between Christmas and New Year's. It's just you
Yeah.
just don't really know what day it is. Sometimes
Yep,
know what
I have
time
no
it
idea, actually. As we record this is the first review that we're doing in 2025,
That's right.
which is kind of wild. So that's pretty cool. But what do we have to look at here, Mr. Cliff? What did you bring to the table?
So I purchased the Galaxy Watch Ultra over Black Friday, and so I've been using it for about a month. And I thought, I talked to Adam and I said, "Hey, I've got this. I know you've done a review for one of your outlets, but why don't we? Yeah,
Mhm.
look at that."
Yeah,
And
there we go.
I thought, well, I tell you what, I wasn't gonna. I mean, it is an expensive watch. I mean, by smartwatch standards, and
Right.
especially for
Yeah,
a
it's
Wear OS
pricey.
a Wear OS device. But just before we get started with the actual review, they had knocked, I think, $250 off the price.
Mm.
That's without a trade-in. And then with any smartwatch, they gave you an additional, I believe, $200 off of it. So
Did you
I
trade in
ended
the
up
Wise Watch? Please tell me you traded in the Wise Watch.
I did not. I
Okay.
traded in the second, like the Moto 360 that was produced by that Canadian company.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a deep cut there.
It is a
But
deep cut. I know. Which
okay.
which hadn't been
I'm
powered on in years, and so
right.
good
I'm
luck with
into
that
it. I'm into
Samsung.
it. It makes me wonder, like, how sometimes when you trade in a watch or trade in a device, they have to, like, power it on to make
Power it
sure it
on and everything.
actually functions. I
Right.
just wonder how that worked. Like, did they have just like a wall of smartwatch
Chargers.
chargers that they had to like pick from? Does this one work? Nope. Does this one work? Nope.
Well,
Does this one work? Nope.
it's definitely being sent to, like, I'm fairly certain, a third party company. I don't even
Okay.
know if they even try if they power it on, because
Should have put an
I think it was any smartwatch, any condition.
any condition.
So
Yeah.
right.
Yep. This is
Uh
a watch. Okay.
like a giant
You should have
pile
put
of
a
them in
you
the
should have put an air tag in the package to see where it went.
Texas.
Oh,
I
it
know
went to
that much.
Texas? Okay.
Irving, Texas is where it went. Yeah, that's a beyond that, I don't know. But
Yeah. Well, I think Samsung's based in Irving, Texas,
they
so
are. So maybe it was
yeah.
or a Samsung affiliated like recycler or something like that. Or
Yeah, I'm
maybe it
sure.
goes somewhere after they receive it. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, that
So
might be a future story. We might have to,
yeah.
tape an air tag to a future trade-in device and see, what happens to it.
Seems like an expensive way to track something, but
Ah! Air tag's $25, no big deal. But or I guess we should use a Samsung tag, given the audience, we should,
true.
um,
True.
you know,
What's
although
Apple? They don't
it
exist.
would be super funny if we traded in a Samsung device to Samsung and the Samsung tag never got tripped because everybody carried an iPhone.
I mean, there might be a
Mm,
slight possibility of that. So yeah, so I ordered.
yep.
And here's the cool thing. I want to talk about the buying experience real quick. If you as the audience have not ordered a smartphone or a watch from Samsung.com, which is where I ordered mine from, versus like a
Mhm.
Best Buy or something, they Samsung offers a lot of I don't want to say like custom options, but like they have bespoke options for like colors you can only get through Samsung.com for
Yeah.
smartphones. And then
Yeah.
with the watch, I think this is probably the closest purchasing like analog to what Apple has with the Apple Watch, in that
Mhm.
with the Ultra specifically, you've got 3 different chassis colors and then 3 different band options, and then within those band options, you've got multiple colors. So that's
Mm.
kinda cool, and then it just the way they do that is so they just ship the watch doesn't come with a band on it. It's just the body, and then you get a band in the color that you choose, and you attach it. So,
Right. Right.
yeah, so I chose the titanium white with the let's have to switch browser tabs here, with the trail watch band in gray. So I like
Okay.
what I chose. You'll obviously see it here on camera in a bit, but yeah.
Yeah.
So the odds of you running into someone, with that exact same combination are probably relatively low if you order it from Samsung.com, since you have so many different options. And this
And
watch,
I got I
you've
was
got
gonna
a
say I got the
black on
titanium
black.
black with the third party band, so you definitely won't
Ah,
see that
okay.
anywhere else.
Yeah, that's
But
true. And so talking about the bands real quick, and this, unlike the regular Watch 7, which just uses the pin that most watch bands use, this actually has a
mhm,
proprietary connector. I forget what Samsung calls it, but you just push it in, and it's got a little pin that clicks in, and you're good to
yeah,
go. There's, positives and negatives to that. I'm sure you can get an adapter that will just go in, that has on one side the Samsung connector, and
yeah,
then you can put a third party watch band on it, or you can order, third party ones that have that same kind of connector. But
right.
you know,
Which
you and
is
I were talking off
what
air, and
mine is.
I think it's so interesting, odd, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, that they didn't use that same connector for the Watch 7. It's just for the Ultra, and I don't know if that's just to give it that more, like, premium separation, or if they just, because of the size of the chassis, they didn't want to try to,
Yeah,
make a separate one. I don't know, for the tooling and all that. My guess would be, if that maybe on the Watch 7, or I'm sorry, the Watch 8, or whatever they call it next year, you might see this one from the Ultra on it as well.
maybe. Maybe it could have just been they were Samsung was just kind of testing it out to see how it works and
Right, right, right. Well,
see how people
I hope it's not like
like
a
it and
1 year
whatnot.
thing. Uh,
Right. Yeah, that would be kinda bad.
so
Although, it's funny because you were talking about the buying experience from Samsung, and one
yeah.
thing that I've been noticed about the Samsung buying experience is, for the longest time, Samsung would advertise the lowest possible price that you could possibly buy this product from.
Mm,
And like, for example, they would say, the Samsung Galaxy Watch is just 149.99 after trade-in,
right,
after
right, right.
financing, after this blah blah blah. So, but it seems like Samsung has shifted its strategy, because now it says from 649 before eligible trade-in, and it does, and Samsung's doing the same thing for their flip phones as well, or
Mm,
for their phones as well. So they're actually starting with the high end of the price and going down from there, because I know a few writers at Slash Gear, when we were writing stories about like Samsung devices, a lot of them would say, the Samsung Galaxy S24 starts at 649. I'm just like, no, it does not.
but you gotta
Because
wonder, like, it's not really
they
false
would,
advertising. Sorry, go ahead.
no, it's not. But I mean, it was a very understandable mistake once, until you learn how Samsung was doing things. And it
Right.
appears Samsung is no longer doing those things. So kudos to Samsung.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it seems like something that, if someone really wanted to pursue it, that you might get, especially in, like, Europe, they might get smacked on the wrist for,
Yeah,
because
maybe.
it's not really false advertising, but at the same time, it can feel a little misleading, because not
It's
everybody
a
has a
tad
phone.
misleading.
'Cause not
Yeah.
everybody has a smartwatch to trade in, and not everybody reads the fine print, and even sometimes on the advertisements. So let's
Right.
talk
Yeah.
about
Well,
just
we could go into a long
oh yeah.
rabbit hole about this, but yeah, let's continue on.
Right, right. So before I put this on Slappy the review cam, let's just talk real quickly about maybe the specs, and what
Hmm.
separates this from the regular Watch 7, besides the obvious, like, what is it, like $300 difference in price.
Right. Something like that. No,
So
it's not. Is it that much? I think it's like, I want to say the Watch 7, didn't that start at 399? Am
either
I
that or
off on that?
349, but even still, that's a $250 price difference. So
That's,
with the
yeah.
Watch
Anyway.
7, you've got
Yeah.
options for either a 40 millimeter or a 44 millimeter watch
Hmm.
face. If you get the Ultra, it takes you up to 1.5, or I'm sorry, to 47 millimeters. So
Yep.
it is a big watch. I mean, here's the thing: I've got a big wrist, so it
Yeah.
doesn't look huge on me.
It's it's fairly chunky. Like, and I remember,
It's a
like,
chunkster.
I remember dinging, the Amazfit T-Rex watch for being chunky, which, and this one is not as chunky as that, but
It's
still,
not,
like,
but it is the same
um,
screen size. It's
yeah,
1.5 inches. So
yeah,
there's that. I believe the resolution is the same for all of them in terms of the display.
it
It's just
sounds
a bigger
right,
screen, right? It looks like it's
right.
480 by 480, which gives it a 327 ppi pixel density. So that's pretty
Mhm.
good. That's like Retina quality, I think, or close to it.
Right.
Um, which is funny since that's like an Apple but branding and standard and everything. Uh, I
Anyway.
don't know what you're talking about. Who's Apple? What is that? It's running
Yeah.
Wear OS 5. In fact, with One UI Watch 6 on top of that, and I believe this was the first set of watches to ship with Wear OS 5.
I believe you are correct.
And that seems to be something that I know that Apple and Google have partnered, or I'm sorry, Apple, Samsung, and Google have partnered with Wear OS, and I think that's actually it feels like it's been very beneficial to Wear OS as far as sales in the light of other manufacturers getting out of the Wear OS smartwatch game, namely Fossil and associated brands. So,
Right.
yeah, Samsung's a behemoth in the industry, especially here in the United States. So,
Indeed.
uh, so hopefully they've had some success with that. But let's see. So I believe this has the Ultra has like twice the amount of atmosphere ratings for
Yeah, it's
depth.
10 ATM plus IP68 as opposed to 5 ATM
5.
IP68 with the
Right, right.
Watch 7.
Sapphire glass, which is nice. And that the
Mhm.
big thing with the and we should talk about Apple here a little bit. It is sort of the elephant in the room. You don't see this so much with this color combination, but the one that you see advertised all the time is like a dark gray, like a one might say it looks gosh, what is that? Space gray almost.
Right.
It's not what they
Right.
call it,
No,
but then
the
with that
Samsung would never say that,
never at
but
all with an orange watch band, and it does look very similar to the Apple Watch Ultra 2 or even 1 for that
right.
matter. And then it's got that big honking action button on the I'm trying to it is really hard to show something when it's on your wrist. Let's see. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. This is a fixed focus
Speaking
camera.
of the orange watch band.
There you go.
So,
Right. So
that's the
yeah.
one that came with mine.
Gotcha. I actually like the orange, but it just didn't feel like it was the best. Like if I'm just gonna have the one watch band to go with
Yeah, I do
everything.
too. I like the orange, but I'm a cloth watch band person myself, so,
Well, that's what
um
the one that I'm wearing is a it's like the stretchy
okay.
band kind of thing, right?
Okay.
It's kind of like it's kind of the middle ground between the other two watch bands that they offer in terms of being
Mhm.
still resistant to wear, but I think it's a little more comfortable
Right.
personally for me than like a PU leather or vinyl basically one. So
Right.
okay, so bigger screen. It does have more RAM, I believe. Same amount of
Storage.
storage inside. Same processor, which I didn't realize it's a 3 nanometer processor. It is a Samsung Exynos, specifically made for smartwatches, but it's a 3 nanometer. So
Right.
that's an advanced processor. So
Yeah.
um, I will say I haven't noticed any slowdowns or anything like that. So I mean, it's speedy. It's very well optimized with the hardware and plenty of RAM so we'll talk about the performance and things like that later. But it does
Mhm.
come with LTE built in, so with an eSIM, so it'll work with I know that several of like I know T-Mobile offers it's like what is it like $5 $10 a month if you have a smartphone plan with them to just add the smartwatch onto it.
Oh, maybe something I've never used it, so
Oh, I don't either. I mean,
um,
I had an
yeah.
LTE or mobile data connected Apple Watch, and then I thought, well, why am I paying for this? Like, it's nice, especially because I did it through Verizon, I could finance it that way. But I'm not going to do it with
Right.
this. But it's there if you want it, and there's arguments to be made. For that as an advantage, you don't necessarily have to take your smartphone with you, which is kind of nice,
Yeah.
and you can have
Yeah.
it actually as its own individual phone number. Let's see. Anything else we want to mention on the specs?
Uh, not really. I think we covered most of it. But yeah, no, I think let's get into the usability of it all.
Right.
Um,
So
one thing that I've noticed is it has these three buttons along the side here, and this middle
right,
one doesn't rotate frustratingly because it kind of feels like it should.
yeah,
But this is
because
kind
it's
of like
aping
your
a
action
crown.
button.
Right. I
I have
I
my
believe
action button set to turn on the flashlight, which basically just turns the screen white. Um, it gets irritating though because like that's the button that I accidentally hit the most. and so I like I wouldn't say constantly, but I would say at least once a day find the flashlight on when I didn't turn it on.
Uh, I have not set up my action button for anything, quite frankly,
Okay,
because I was worried about something like that, and I thought I'd just use the watch
fair.
and see what I would find most useful to actually set it up with once I actually kind of figure out, the workings around it. It does have, and I'll show it when we actually go to Slappy, it doesn't have a rotating crown in the center, but it does have the capacitive touch on the crown
Yeah,
that you can rotate
around
to
the side.
right. So kinda, aping what they used to do with the original Galaxy Watch and a few subsequent from that when it was running Tyson, where the bezel actually would
Right.
rotate and was a functional part of the watch. So I like that. I mean, I've heard people say with this watch that they wish that it had, like you said, the crown rotating or
Yeah.
the bezel rotating, just because it is a nice like mechanical thing. I will say on the other
Yeah,
side of that
totally.
though, to me, the with the original Galaxy Watch, it could get like a dust and stuff up and grime up under that rotating bezel,
Hmm.
and it could get a little like gritty sounding. And I feel like if you were someone that was really active outdoors, that could eventually become a problem. Which I'm just speculating,
Mm,
but
fair.
that might have been the reason that Apple or golly, Samsung
Eh,
went away from that just from a
right.
reliability concern. Although
Well, why don't we?
my
Oh, I'm
guess would
sorry.
be that no, it's fine. I was just gonna say that my guess would be that honestly, the battery capacity would probably degrade from charging it over and over again before that bezel ever really stopped working, unless you just really mistreated it. But because this is titanium, as far as the mid frame is concerned, not only does that
Mhm.
add some lightweightness to the watch for what is a very big watch, but it also is well, aluminum is a pretty soft material, titanium a little bit less. So this is using grade 4, I believe, titanium, which is pretty hard and lightweight. So I wanted to talk just for real quickly about setting it up because
Okay.
this inevitably is going to work better for you out of the box if you have a Samsung phone.
Right.
Because a lot of this stuff, the functions are built into it. And there's actually something that I can't remember what it is, but there's something that you only can get to work if you have a Samsung phone, to work with it, but,
Is
you know
that the double tap to control your phone
yes,
thing?
I believe that's it. Yeah, it's something that's Samsung exclusive. So if you want to
Yeah.
install this, there are 2 apps, or I'm sorry, if you want to use this phone with your Android device, there are 2 apps that you have to install, first being
Hmm.
Galaxy Wear and then Samsung's Health app. So that's actually where all of the information for your step tracking, health stuff is all
Right.
located,
Right.
which we'll go through that once we go to Slappy here, which by the way, let's just go like you were saying, go ahead and bring
Yeah.
old Slappy up, do the fun, let's see if we can you go up there and just keep things there we go. That no, I was
That we
wrong.
got you.
There we go.
Okay.
That's good. As you can see, I've got the always on display on, so I mean that has been taking up
Hmm.
some of the battery. Although this is
Yeah.
An AMOLED screen, so it's certainly not bad as far as what that's actually using. But this is the watch
Hmm.
face that it comes with standard out of the box, and I have not changed it because I actually really like the look and the complications with it are what I'm looking for. So your weather, your heart rate, and then your I believe that's the 70 is actually like or maybe was that the heart
Is that your
rate?
readiness score? I bet.
Yes, I believe that's the
Yeah,
readiness
I
score
believe
because I
that's the icon for your readiness score.
right. So we'll go ahead and you can actually see the little orange button here that you were talking about in the center. Now, something we should
Yeah.
mention is that this has an SOS feature. If you press and hold that center button, it will emit like I forget how loud it is. It's like 110 decibels, I think.
Yeah. It's
SOS.
loud.
Yeah, I have not done it because I am sensitive to loud noises, and that doesn't sound like a good time to me.
Right.
So, but it's there if you want it. And the idea is that if you're like out in if you're hiking, because this is marketed towards people who are active,
Right.
and you can press that if you've injured yourself, if you've fallen or something like that, or I guess depending on who you are, if you're being mugged or something, if you have
Yeah.
the thoughtness, the foresight to like press this while you've got a gun to your face. I mean, I don't know. I'm just Again, just spitballing here, but it isn't.
Right.
All right, so there's your back button. It's pretty standard Wear OS stuff in
Mhm.
terms of the way you navigate it, though. These are your notifications. You can scroll all the way down to the bottom. I believe there's a clear function, isn't there? Yeah, it's there somewhere, but it's giving me my energy score, my sleep time. Oh, look at me.
Look at you.
Look at me.
Well,
Oh,
excellent.
except for the
Previous day activity. Yeah, you didn't do anything
eh,
yesterday, you
well,
lazy head.
I only worked a half a day, and then I was sitting on the couch the rest of the day. So that checks. Now, here's just real quickly. I love the compass function on this watch face.
Okay.
It's just kind of cool. You see how it's
It is
rotating there as
neat.
I move.
I turned that off specifically because I figured that probably affects battery life
Battery
long
life,
term,
yeah.
but,
Well, let's talk about
yeah.
battery life here real quick. So I
Okay.
I get about 48 hours out of this watch, and actually, I think I could probably get a little more.
Yeah, I'm a
Um,
solid 2 days.
it's a solid, but it's yeah, that just because of it's usually the thing where I put it on if I'm not doing. Actually, I've been wearing this overnight for sleep tracking. So what I found is that it starts to get down to about like 20% ish when I come home from work at the end of the second day, and then I'll just throw it on the charger. But I'm pretty
Okay.
sure if I wanted to, I could wear it overnight, and then it just wouldn't be ready in the morning. But
Yeah, you probably could. The one thing that I have not done, and that's because I've been bouncing from phone to phone for while I've been wearing
right,
this,
right.
is I haven't turned on the like the sleep mode sync. Like when your phone goes into sleep mode, you can sync it up to the watch so that the watch, turns off the always on display at night and stuff like that. So I
Oh,
haven't gotten a chance to do that yet, but I'm still hitting 48 hours. So I get the feeling if I were able to do that, I would probably be able to extend it to, probably you know, uh, maybe 2 days and a few hours after that or
that's
something like that. Yeah,
that's my
yeah,
experience with it. Yeah, and I
yeah.
haven't done that either. So I couldn't really speak to that. But you've got two buttons here that will. This is basically your back button. I believe this takes you to your health. It's maybe not. Swipe down for and this has been a Wear OS standard forever. I mean, this is very similar to the shade that you can drop down on Android
Mhm.
for your
Yeah.
different functions, to turn off and muted, etc. And then here you have these are the cards as they call them that I have. So
Mhm.
this is basically just health metrics, your step counting, uh, heart rate, all that kind of good story, or your health metrics. Multi-sport, which I don't even know why I have this because I will never use it. I should just
The
remove that
rings that
card
we definitely didn't steal from Apple. Yeah.
at all. Temperature or weather, I should say. So that's there we go. And there's a bunch more that are available if
Yeah.
that's something calendar. There's actually a ton of stuff. Let's see if I remember right. Oh, there's your apps. So all of your expected stuff, the Play Store, messaging,
Yeah,
and this is to me,
the one thing I don't like, and, maybe you're about to, like, shoot me down here, but the one thing I don't like is you cannot do your app list in, like, a list. You can only do those
yes,
icons, which I
yes.
hate.
This is obviously inspired by Apple as well. I would think, based on
Right.
my time with the Apple Watch.
Right, but
Oh, good.
in
And Bixby is
Bixby.
available if you love that.
But in normal, Wear OS watches, you can get that list,
Right.
so it just
Yeah,
bugs
this
me
is a
that Samsung basically, like, said, "No, you don't get that."
where yeah, this is a so yeah, that's the thing. Even though this in many ways feels like a standard Wear OS watch, although I haven't used like a Pixel watch or something, so my experience with Wear OS, especially Wear OS 5, is just limited to the Samsung version of it with One UI on
Hmm,
top of it. But so there's your thing for your Galaxy Buds, notifications,
yeah,
Outlook, a calculator, just it's the stuff that you'd expect on a expensive smartwatch like this. And you have access to the Play Store specifically for Wear OS and install third-party apps if that's something if you don't find what it comes with, on it to begin with in your installed apps. So let's see if I remember correctly, if you what was I gonna say? It was something with suppressing this down. Then this also yes. Actually, so right now I've got it the standard configuration. If I press the center orange button, it takes me directly to you
your
know,
activities.
activity options depending on the different kinds of sports that you have. So you have bike, running, coach, track run,
Yeah.
let's see, swimming, hiking, open water swim. Oh, that's kind of interesting. So, I mean, there is a ton of circuit training. So, a lot of different stuff. As I said, this is marketed towards active people, so that makes sense that they have so many different options.
Right.
Here is the subjective part, right? And that's that this is, I think, a really good looking watch. That's actually the reason I honestly was really interested in it, besides the fact that I have a big wrist, and so bigger watches just look better on my
Yeah.
wrist. That's the reason I
Yeah.
haven't that's the reason I didn't purchase the Pixel Watch 1 or 2, honestly, is because it's very petite, and now they finally have the larger option, but then you don't
Hmm.
get the battery life even with that you do, with the Samsung, so
Interesting. Okay. That's a take.
yeah. So that's me. So, this is a
Yeah.
watch
I mean, just
if you
from
want.
a looks perspective, I'm gonna kind of agree to disagree. I'm actually not sure I really like the tick marks going around the circumference of the watch like that. Just because, like, if I'm gonna have marks like that going around the circumference, I want them to be functional somehow.
Mhm.
And depending on the watch face that you pick,
Yeah, it doesn't
I
add
guess if
anything
you
to it.
have like a standard, if you have like an analog watch face, then those are helpful. But if you're not using them, I actually don't like having those there. I'm also not really a fan of the squared circle kind of design that we have going on here.
See, I
Um,
like the Squircle plus the round watch face. Now that was
yeah,
actually when I saw this as a leak, obviously before it started shipping, I thought, "Oh, well, that's different
I guess it's
for
a
wireless."
throwback to like the active series. The active series of
I
watches, I guess,
guess.
had a design like that. I don't remember. I never
Although
actually reviewed any
if
of
if we
those,
if we
but
want to again reference back to who this is competing with, that this does look very similar to an Apple Watch Ultra, except that this has a round watch face.
right,
The
right,
squircle shape itself, plus the design of the straps and all that really does have, I think not unintentional similarities to Apple's offering in this sector.
right,
So, not to mention
right,
they're both very expensive if you don't get any discounts, which you typically don't get
right.
that much unless you're going on with Apple, unless you're going through a carrier, or you are, you know, buying a couple of year old model. So I guess what I can do here is bring on over the old ye old Pixel, so we can take a look real quick at the health app.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. We'll first look at um, Galaxy, where there's not too much going on here. This allows you to change the watch face with
Yeah.
right, show those, and then watch settings, doing things like doing updates. It's got the Find My Watch function, which I guess we can do here just to see. Start. Very cool. So it does do that.
That's interesting.
Yep. And then the store for apps and all that good stuff. So yeah, there's not too much going
Yeah.
on and the reason I showed that or say that is because that's different from the way it used to be. I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of used to be everything in the one app, and then you'd have something like whatever Google's I guess it was Google Fit, would just have the health metrics, but which I guess in some ways is still the case. But
Right.
Samsung's, I think, used to be all just kind of integrated together. But there's a lot of interesting stuff that this can show you,
Yeah.
especially if you're into. And this is more than just for watches. I believe this also integrates with your phone, and then you can enter things in like your water consumption. If you're a woman, you can do, and you can track your menstrual cycle with the cycle
Mhm.
tracking. Can you see all this? Let's see.
And, Samsung put a big emphasis on sleep coaching this year, which was kinda
Right.
cool. So it'll assign you, like, a sleep animal depending on, like, how your
Yes.
sleep habits are and stuff like that.
Mine
So
was
that's
a
kinda neat.
mine was a deer. In fact, you can kinda
I
see
don't
it there this time. I don't know, I have
yeah,
no idea what that means.
I don't remember what my sleep animal is. I have to look that up, but
I
I'm
believe
going
it's
to
saying
look
that
that up.
I must be nocturnal because it's got, like, a dark background and it's breathing on cold air. I don't know, but, yeah, I did go to sleep very late last night because the day that we're recording this on is New Year's Day, and so, yeah, I was up for
Right.
the changeover. Um, Blood pressure, which you can enter, I'm guessing if you, and your blood glucose, things that it doesn't have access to just to track your health, I guess, when you go to the doctor or something like that. This is
Right.
something that you can enable. I honestly don't know what to make of it. This is your
What's that?
average it's the AGE index, which is they're partnered with
Oh, yeah.
something
That's kind
diagnostics.
of hard to explain. Yeah.
Yeah. It's what it
So,
says. It says your AGE index can or AGES index can give you a sense of your metabolic health, which reflects your overall biological aging process and is strongly influenced by your diet and lifestyle. So
right. So
it's measured.
basically it can tell you like how old your body thinks you are compared
Right.
to like how old you are based on
Very
like the
interesting.
byproducts that your body is producing. So,
That sounds
yeah,
really depressing
yeah, it
unless
is
you're a health nut.
it's also a little confusing because
Right.
like, you know, there's such a big push right now for like um detecting glucose levels and stuff like that,
Right, right.
and like the watch uses some glucose body rhythms for this ages thing, so it was a little confusing. Like I remember my Forbes editor was like particularly um kind of confused, like, so this does glucose monitoring. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
Nope.
And she's like, yeah, no, yeah, it does. I'm like, no, it really doesn't. So like there was a lot of confusion there because of
Yes.
like of this ages um index.
Although
But
if
yeah,
so a coworker of mine was a catastrophic diabetic, and so he was always wearing a glucose monitor.
monitor. Yeah.
And so I imagine something like this that Samsung offers in partnership with that would actually be really handy and give you a better overall picture of your health, etc. But me
Right.
not doing that, that's something where you'd have to have access to that information, and
Yeah, but
maybe has limited
y-
appeal.
yeah, no, yeah, it's fine, but it's important to point out that this does not read glucose levels.
Right, right, right.
So if you
Which it
are
is
a
confusing.
diabetic, this watch is not a tool that you can use. Just so we're on the same, I just want to make sure
Okay.
we're covering our butts well
No,
enough there
it would not
because
be a replacement
yeah,
for a glucose monitor
right,
right.
exactly.
That's why I was
So
saying that in partnership, this could be useful with this
yeah,
one, right? And that's why I'm also saying I don't know how useful it is for people who are, you know, that aren't diabetics. So I'm
right.
gonna go ahead and take away
But anyway,
Slappy here, and
okay. So long, Slappy. You know, it's
so
funny
Slappy.
while we were looking through the app list, that I was complaining about, I noticed that there was a Toyota app, and I'm like, "Oh,
Ah,
there's a Toyota app for the watch?" And
hmm.
so, like, while we were talking, I installed the Toyota. I never installed the Toyota app on my,
Yeah,
Android
because
phone
you have
because
the one ID, right? And you're switching phones all the time, if I remember right.
yeah, so there's that, and it's not so much that. That's not so much of a pain, but just the fact that I have to set it up for every single like, so the way my I don't wanna get off on too much of a tangent here,
Yeah,
but
sorry.
the way my phone usage has evolved since I carry 2 phones all the time and since I carry an iPhone all the time because of my kids, my iPhone has kind of become my central,
Right.
device for connecting to, like, smart home things and connecting to, like, the car and stuff like that, just because that's the one constant, whereas with the Android phones, I'm switching,
Yeah, you're
20
swapping all
times
the
a
time.
year,
Right.
and I don't have to worry about that. So, but while we were talking, I installed the Toyota app and got it installed, and then I pulled up the Toyota app on my watch, and it turns out I can start my car from my Android watch, and that's
Ah,
kind of
how
cool.
cool. That is very cool, yeah. Now, I
But
have
yeah,
not used Samsung Pay, because I'm already carrying my smartphone with me everywhere, and I just use
sure,
tap to pay with my smartphone, so, I mean, that's a nice
hmm,
feature to have, but I'm very rarely without my smartphone, and,
right,
you know, it's a nice thing to have, however, it doesn't take much effort for me to take it out of my phone out of my pocket, so it's there
right,
if that's something
right.
that you're interested in, and the fact that I is there a Google Pay app available? That's actually a good question because that might be because there's Samsung Pay, which is its own
On
thing.
the watch, I don't remember,
Right.
actually.
Yeah.
You would think so,
I didn't
maybe?
see it.
But, I mean, actually, same for me. I always use my phone just to pay, and I kind of it's such a first world problem to have, but
I know, right?
I cycle through watches pretty fast,
Mhm.
so I usually don't set up payments on watches because,
Yeah.
my bank at least used to cap the number of devices that my credit
Mhm.
card could be associated with, and so I would have to call the bank, like, at once every 3 months and just clear out all the old devices that I don't use anymore.
Well, my bank
Again, first world
automatically
problem.
my bank automatically, uh, deactivates my card from devices I haven't used in a while. So, and maybe
Mm,
that's because
mm,
I'll just get a notification that says, your bank has deactivated your card, or I'll get an
yeah,
email depending on if I have the watch app or the bank app installed or not. So I'll just go to the bottom line here.
yeah,
This is a personal purchase for me. I'm excited that I
mhm,
don't feel like I have to return it because I don't always. A lot of times I think I've discussed this in previous like smartwatch reviews. Is that
sure,
I'll wear a smartwatch for a while and then I just kind of get out of the habit. And that's why in a lot of ways, a smart ring makes more sense for me because it's just on my hand and
mhm,
the charge lasts for a long time. It's just less to think about. But because this
yeah,
is to me like a really attractive watch, I mean, it's kind of I don't want to say it's like a personal statement, but it's me. Like the way I got to pick out the
yeah,
band, I got to pick out so there's just a sense of ownership with it. So yeah, I've
sure,
actually been wearing this every day, and because this band is so comfortable, this particular one that I have,
mhm,
I even though this is a big watch, it doesn't feel that heavy, and I sleep just fine with it. So I
good, yeah,
yeah, I mean, so very snappy. Uh, Decent battery life. I mean, very good battery life for a Wear OS watch.
yes,
But
agree,
we just reviewed the. It's all. It's just completely different depending on what you're talking about though, because we just published a review of the T-Rex 3 from Amazfit, and that got me over 30
which
days of battery life.
right, right. So, and also, we also did a review of the OnePlus Watch 2, which, goes for like 4 days at a time,
Right,
so
right, right.
but yeah, so it's funny because like if you had asked me a year ago, hey, I can give you an Android
Mhm.
Wear OS smartwatch with 48 hours of battery life, I would have been like, absolutely, yes, please.
Yes.
And now it's just kind of like, really, only 48 hours?
It really has been in like the last year and a half that
Yeah,
has really advanced. So, I mean,
right. So
you did have TicWatch with, their screen, and I just never really enjoyed and the problem with
yeah,
TicWatch for me, personally, and the ones that I've purchased, and I've owned 3 or 4, is their software support in terms of updates is just
hmm,
not very good, and that's actually something we should mention about this watch, and I don't know what the update promises are for that, but in my experience, Samsung has been very good, just like they are with their smartphones in terms of keeping their smartwatches up to date. I mean,
yeah,
the Tizen-based
yeah,
Galaxy watches, they supported for like 5 years, even if after they stopped manufacturing and like
very
Tizen-based
true.
smartwatches en masse. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
very true.
I don't know that I could recommend the smartwatch at 649. I just feel
Yeah,
like that's a
it's very
lot.
pricey.
It is, but like we started talking about at the beginning, Samsung's always got some kind of deal going on, especially this time of the year or in the
And
last, like, 2
especially
months.
with trade-ins.
Right, right. Exactly. So, if this is something that you're interested in, you could always because it is, LTE capable or mobile data
Yeah.
capable, you could probably, just like
Mhm.
an Apple Watch, get this financed through your carrier for maybe even free depending on, who it is.
Oh,
Plus your
okay.
paying your $5 or $10 a month. And it might, with the Ultra, it might be a couple of bucks a month, but not too much.
I was just noticing, with the trade-in value that they have right now, they do have the any smartwatch, any condition for $100.
Hmm,
And they also have, you can take trade-ins from Apple or Garmin, like Garmin smartwatches are, start at $100 off and go up from there. Apple, just
probably very
checking here
similar.
real quick. Oh, and they have Samsung too as well. I missed that at the
Yeah,
top of the
you would
list.
hope.
Um, but yeah, like Watch that starts at 100 and goes up from there. But like
Okay.
for a Watch Ultra, you can get $350 of trade in. Watch Ultra 2 is 350. So yeah, you can definitely get a deal if you're looking to
Just
migrate.
like I did.
Yep, yep, you betcha.
But, yeah, so, with those available ways to knock off the price, I mean, that's the reason I purchased it. And at,
Mhm.
300-ish dollars, I actually think I paid 249, but
Yeah.
this is a really nice smartwatch.
Oh, yeah, for 249, absolutely.
Right,
So,
right,
l
absolutely.
bottom line, look for a deal,
Mhm.
and if you can find one, it gets our seal of approval, but if you're buying it straight up for 649, probably not so much.
Hard sell.
But yeah, yeah, it'd be a hard sell at that. But again, the fact that it comes with LTE built in is kind of nice.
Mhm.
That's usually an option that you have to kind of like hem and haw over. Oh, do I want it? Oh, do I don't? So,
Not to mention
but
that
yeah, overall,
when you start doing mobile data, it also kills your battery life relative to if you're
yeah,
not using it.
exactly.
So,
So, but overall, yeah, I dig it. You dig it. We all dig it.
yep.
Let's call the whole thing off. That's how the song goes, right? No, it's not. Anyway,
Bye.
cool. Yeah, we're gonna go now. Well, anyway, happy New Year, Cliff, and happy
Happy
New
New
Year
Year.
to everyone watching. And now I'm gonna go ahead and play our outro, which you all know and love by now. So, coming from us, see you in the next one. Oh, hi there. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, then you obviously liked what you saw. So why not take it a few small steps further? How about you drop a thumbs up on this video and maybe hit that subscribe button?
And while you're there, move that pointer over a few pixels and click the bell. All of that will ensure that we get noticed on the YouTubes, and we can make more of these videos just for you.
And if you want to go even a little bit further, you can head over to patreon.com/benefitofthedoud and sign up for as little as just $2 per month. And for that, you'll get early access to our videos and some bonus content that we don't show on the main channel.
Plus, we're cooking up new perks and benefits all the time. So go to patreon.com/benefitofthedoud and sign up today.
That's patreon.com/benefitofthedoud. And as always, we thank you for watching and for giving us the benefit of the Doud. Wrap up.
Came back to your headphones like that.